I wasn't, I wasn't going to do this one, but after hearing some of the things you guys said, I thought it was important to share it. And it just adds to the theme that you don't know what people are going through. And the setting for this is mostly college students. And as a storyteller, I believe that if you give more visibility to an issue, then more people feel more comfortable to talk about it. And that's why I do this. And once you hear a story, you can be like, hey, that kind of sounds like something that I've been through, and then you can look into it more. So this is still being edited, and it's called The Ones Who Fell Behind. When Emeka moved to London alone, a great opportunity, by the way, one that not everybody's parents could afford, a mission accompanied by great expectations of success. You were to go to the West and become a doctor, lawyer, or engineer because you got this opportunity that others drowned crossing borders for an ounce of. So Emeka was sent on a mission to become a doctor, and yet she found herself doodling a lot in her classes, making detailed portraits. She was enrolled in one art class only, her favorite, which she was only taking because art was a school requirement. And the truth is she struggled in her sciences, getting C's and D's, and so she got depressed, thinking, what's the point if I'm only going to fail? And she began to withdraw, which wasn't hard, while sitting in those big lecture halls, where the smart seemed to get smarter and the lost seemed to get more lost. And when she met up with an academic advisor, he asked, why don't you just take another art class? To which she broke down crying, saying she couldn't. But the advisor didn't get it, that Emeka wasn't in school to explore nor for herself, but on a mission that others were awaiting her return from, that her name had already become a thing of pride, affiliated with a degree that she had not yet received, that she barely sleeps, trying. And this advisor, seeing that she was overwhelmed and struggling to manage her stress, to contain herself, recommended Emeka go to see the school counselor. And she did. And this counselor started asking questions like, how do you feel? And taking notes every time she opened her mouth to respond, which was quite nerve-wracking. But the counselor said that all responses were confidential, so Emeka continued answering honestly, saying how worthless she feels, that her family was going to kill her, so to speak, and how she didn't know how to get over all the people she was disappointing, and how she doesn't even know why she's living, and a few other things that put her on suicide watch. And just because the school didn't want to be liable for a suicide, they called her family, even though she had expressed that her family would not understand and that depression was not a thing she believed in. And here she was, now tucked between counselors and with little to no social frame of context and a family that did not understand her needs. The news got to Nigeria. Her parents were asked to come and get their daughter. And now the thing she feared the most was happening in the worst possible way. When Lillian moved over, she had no delusions of being the perfect science student. She was content to take a B or a C to push through courses to get through to graduation. And she loved living, so she lived. She partied, she drank, but she still got back in time to pull all-nighters to complete assignments. She was actually super hardworking. She worked 2 jobs while at school and only went drinking here and there to find peace of mind for this heavy load of life she was carrying, which included her uncles who said she would never succeed. So no matter what she did, she made sure she had to succeed. One day, when she had drank a little too much and passed out on the couch, and her roommate had thrown a party, one of the guys took the opportunity to violate her. She cannot remember who, but she got pregnant. She only gave the details about that night to the doctor who performed her abortion. For days, she was dazed, asking, why? Why me? I was really just trying to survive, so why me? Have I not gotten enough beatings and insults, Lord? So how could you let this happen to me? And she wouldn't keep the baby because, goodness, it would kill her mother who had sold her house, her farms, and jewelry back in Ghana to enroll her in this institution, so she couldn't drop out. She became so depressed, filled with stress, couldn't think straight, filled with shame, so she took the money for her next term's tuition to get the abortion. Unable to make enough to enroll in her next semester's coursework, she thought to herself, now I am really worth nothing. I might as well get into prostitution. My uncles already think I am one. What else can I do? So she killed the child, lost her tuition, and proceeded to kill herself. Nadia. Oh, Nadia. Nadia was a beautiful girl, and quiet, nice legs and breasts, and yes, her professor was not blind. She had actually recently transferred from another institution because of a case of Facebook message from professor who started making provocative comments like, "If you wear a short skirt, no panties, I'll bump up your grade." She knew about 5 other people this happened to who wouldn't speak up, so she decided to be the courageous one who made the report. Got 3 teachers fired, and then somehow she started feeling like the black sheep whenever she'd walk into that building where she still had a lot of classes. That and strained relationships made her become more and more estranged, and it became hard to focus. So she transferred to another school for a fresh start. Transferring pushed her back a few classes, but that was fine. What wasn't was that she wasn't the same anymore. She found herself unable to ask for help from any male professors. She could not go for office hours and be there alone with the professor. And she was a transfer, which meant finding friends was hard, especially when like everyone was already in cliques. And worse, she didn't live on campus, so once again she found herself pretty isolated. She was finding it hard integrating in the new school, so she dropped out of classes and became a traumatized part-time student. And now, finally, Fatima. When Fatima, straight A student, locked eyes with fine male specimen, who she was tutoring for lower level math, it didn't stop her from continuing on that straight A streak. It was a secret breakup after the secret relationship that broke her. Secret because her parents had not sent her to school to date, but hormones. So after the breakup, she spent days in her room hiding under the blanket instead of going to her classes, because anytime she tried to leave the room, she started crying, and all she would want to do is lay in her bed and cry. When she had cried her eyeballs so much that there was nothing left but the drought, she would finally try to walk to the lunchroom, at which time she would happen to see him walking past holding another girl in his arms. So she tried going to lunch at different times, and she'd see him, and she couldn't say anything bad about him to anyone because everybody loved him. So she stopped going for lunch. She just locked herself in her room and ate ramen noodles. On some days, she could not do any work, but she tried anyway, and she gathered little fits of strength to start going back to class again, giving fake friends fake smiles on the way to class, and every fake smile zapped the little energy she had, such that she felt like either to faint or to cry right after the person she'd smiled at had passed by. She developed really bad anxiety, and she didn't know who to talk to about it. She couldn't speak to anyone. To who would you tell? It even started affecting her ability to breathe, or even to sleep. Her internal life got so dark in ways I cannot explain. She actually checked herself into a mental hospital secretly. Her emergency contact at the mental institution were not her parents. It was a friend whom she hadn't told any of these problems to. And yes, she got out of there after getting the help she needed and got back on track and graduated. That was it.